There's so many ways people negotiate every single day, and they don't even realize they're negotiating. You're negotiating with your kid on where they want to go for their birthday, right? They want to go here. Well, how about there? Okay, what do you think? Well, what if we just do it over here at the house with this family? Well, no, can we invite some friends over? Sure, we'll do it at the house with friends. And what do you know? You end up coming to a negotiation agreement. You're always negotiating, right? Even with your own child. So when it comes to getting your listing signed, when it comes to getting a buyer to choose you to represent them, you're constantly negotiating. So you're showing your way of doing business as you're doing this. To be a top negotiator, you have to know there's two specific techniques to negotiating. And do you know those techniques? So your first way I'm going to talk about, which is the primary way that a lot of people negotiate, and they don't even realize they're negotiating this way. Some people call it meet in the middle, or I've heard it several different ways. Okay, let's just call it meet in the middle. All right, basically, your goal is to not meet in the middle. You don't want to meet in the middle. If you're a seller's agent, of course, you want to meet above the middle. If you're a buyer's agent, you want to meet below the middle. But the job is to specifically, strategically, as a negotiator in this technique, is to actually try to find that middle first. Okay, you want to try to establish that middle. The only way to establish it as a buyer's agent is to get that offer in. And just, like any type of negotiation technique, you want to get the other side to negotiate with you. They've got to be in the game. They got to be up in this. So ultimately, you want to find that middle first. So let's use 400,000. Okay, you come in and you write an offer at 400,000. You write an offer at say 300,000. $100,000 off. A lot of agents will go silent. Well, not a good idea. If you're that agent, change your ways. You don't go silent on any offer. Every offer deserves to be negotiated for your seller. Right, and so your buyer, as a buyer's agent, you submit that offer, say $300,000 or $400,000 price. So you're establishing the middle is $350,000, right? So you know now where it's at. So your job is, as a buyer's agent, to try to get them under that $350,000. As a seller's agent, try to get them over that $350,000. So using your counter offers, it might take you 3, might take you 4, might take you 5. I think the most counter offers I've ever written was somewhere around 6 or 7, possibly 8. I just would have to really rack the brain, but there's a lot of opportunities in negotiations to bring in other stuff, to bring in opportunities, like maybe you want to throw in that lawnmower, maybe you want to throw in that awesome tractor, $15,000 tractor. Maybe you need something like a specific down payment assistance, 2-1 buy down, 3-1 buy downs. We've heard a lot about that going on. But you maybe not want to throw it in there right away. So instead of asking for anything, you keep it clean. You just write a low offer because your buyer, you want to get your buyer into this negotiations. Okay, but you need to have good conversations with the seller's agent if you're representing a buyer ahead of time and saying, hey, I'm going to bring an offer. It's going to be a bit lower, but please keep me in it. Counter me. That's all I ask. Wherever you want to counter, establish that relationship ahead of time, that counter offer. Right, that you're going to be getting in a counter. Okay, this won't work in any market. None of the negotiations work really well in an offer in a market where you've got ability, like overpriced properties, more buyers markets, but maybe neutral market. Right, I know right here after COVID, the market changed a little bit. Was it still a seller's market? Technically it was, because of the amount of inventory on the market, but at the same time it was somewhat of a buyer's market too. So we've got an opportunity for buyers to be able to get into a property, able to negotiate a little bit. So this is where you shine. You should shine. All right, so using the meet in the middle technique. Okay, we got our price of 400, list price. We got our offer price of 300. We established the middle as 350. So offer number 1 is that counter offer. Bring me an offer. The seller's going to come in at one of two places. Full price, we've seen that many times, or slightly a little less. So say they come in and they drop the price $10,000. All right, so now you're down to say $390,000. Okay, so you got 390. You came in at 3. List price was 400. They came down 10. You're going to come up maybe 20. All right, so now you're at about 320. Right, you're coming up a little higher. You're splitting that. So now we've got a new split. So now we have 320. I'm sorry, yeah, 320, and we've got 390. So we've established a new middle, which is somewhere around 365, 370, or 365-ish. Let's just say 365. So now we've established a new middle. That's good. But ultimately, what we're trying to do is get above that 350 range, right? Or below that 350 range. That's our original middle. So we've established a new middle. So now they come back, they counter maybe 10,000 lower. Now they're down to, say, 370-ish, okay? 375, 380, somewhere around there. So maybe they're at 380 and you come in a little higher. Now there's a point in time to where that middle is shrunk. Depending on if you're the seller's agent or buyer's agent, you're now getting close to the middle, but now the winner is who gets above that middle or below that middle, because you've got your established original middle price at 350. Guess what? Now it's time to throw in, okay, how about this? I'll come in at your 370, but my buyer needs a 2-1 buy down, and that's going to cost $14,000, right? So the net is what you're focusing on. You got your net price. So your net price is, roughly 370 minus that, say, 15,000 for even numbers. We're down to 350, believe it or not. We're right at the middle, right? Yeah, doing my math right. So, we're establishing a price. So technically we got 350, but the seller feels like they got a little higher, but we technically met in the middle. Well, the goal was to get a little higher, so they may counter again. A good seller's agent will, and this good seller's agent countering might counter at, say, 375, 380. And yeah, we'll pay your 15,000 towards closing costs. So guess what? The buyer saved 10, 15,000, got the offer accepted. The seller actually got a little higher, so the seller's agent got, the seller's agent, maybe they're established as 350, so now they actually got their number. So that's the meet in the middle technique, which a lot of people do, but they don't realize that they're doing it. Understand your different methods of negotiating. Understand what you're doing in negotiation. Explain these techniques to your buyers and sellers. I suggest it. Explain it to your buyers and sellers so they understand how that you are a structured, strategic negotiator, not just it's just natural to me. It just comes natural. Understanding how you do your business, understanding how you run your business is important, that you're not just flying by night. You're actually understanding, you actually know what you're doing, and then you come from education. Now you're educating these buyers and sellers. You're allowing them to feel better about choosing to use and choose you as an agent. Top producing agent is what you're shooting for. You should be the top producer. The second type of negotiation out there is actually a much more specific negotiation method. This one you could probably find in a book called Never Split the Difference. It's a great book. Brian Eisenhower calls it the Eisenhower method, a nice Eisenhower negotiation method. It's amazing. I believe Brian talks about that he got this from his dad, who was in the business for many years, taught him this method, and it's an amazing method. I would say probably the more strategic method on negotiations. To explain the process, you want to set your target price first that you want to go after. Whatever that target price is, let's just say your target is $400,000. Okay, let's say I want to try to get my buyer, let's just say your buyer, $400,000 for this property. It's currently listed at $450, $425, somewhere right there. It's a little higher than my buyer's willing to go. My target price is $400,000. That's what I'm trying to get. So when I write my offer, I'm specifically strategically choosing 4 different types of offers I'm going to be writing in order to get to my target goal. Okay, offer, counter offer to get me my target number. And we're using specific percentages to get there. So your first one, you want to come in somewhere around, say, 85% of your offer, which is 85% of your target price. So whatever 85% of that target price is, that's where we're going to come in first. So you kind of want to do some calculations ahead of time. You want to come up with that calculation. It's a little bit more strategic way of doing it. You're coming up with calculation 85%. That's where you come in first. You're going to calculate 3 future ones. All right. You're going to use somewhere around maybe a 90%, 93%, 92%, somewhere around there is going to be your second calculation. All right. So 85 is the first. You're going to try to get to 90 to 93, maybe 92%. Your second counter offer is going to calculate somewhere about 98%. Remember, you're using your target number. You're coming in with a specific percentage of that target number. So say 400,000, you're going to come up with first offer 85%, 86%. Second one somewhere between 90, 92% maybe. 98% would be number 3, and then 100% is number 4. So 100% is your target number, which is 400,000. You got to get the other agent on board with this. I'm going to tell you right away, there's a lot of agents out there that don't understand negotiations. We've talked about that in the beginning of this call, where there's agents that just won't even answer your offer. And you know this. You know that agent. You're thinking about them in your head right now. You submit an offer, they're just silenced. There's crickets on the other end. It's like, come on, just talk to me. Let's negotiate. This is your job, Mr. and Mrs. Agent. You got to negotiate with me a little bit. Let's go back and forth for our clients and help them get the best possible prices they can get. Sometimes it takes you actually motivating that agent to say, hey, keep me in it. Keep me in this deal. Write me a counter. I understand it might be a little lower than your seller's willing to go, so write me a counter. You're got to kind of negotiate with them to get them to negotiate with you. Bit frustrating, isn't it? So ultimately, once you can get them on board to do this, you're going to get them back and forth. And then you're strategically negotiating specific percentages to get to your target goal. Okay? It's a very high-end way of doing negotiations. Definitely take note in how to do that and be prepared to negotiate back and forth. Now, I will tell you, this technique does not work in all markets. Because I know that some of you out there are like, well, I'm dealing with multiple offers bidding up. So just know it doesn't work with all of them. This is specific strategic negotiations, and you got to know your market. So actually, if you're in a market to where people are writing well over list price offers, they're writing way higher, of course, it's not going to work for that. It's going to work for those properties in those areas that are actually, the buyer has a little negotiation room there. So negotiate for your buyer. Get specific.